Okay, we are live here in Salem. It's January 24th, 2024 at 8:31 in the morning, and I'm calling our quarterly Oregon State Marine Board meeting to order. Before we get to our agenda, several board members have asked to make some comments and offer kudos to staff. So Val, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Jackson. I would like to express my gratitude to Eddie and Brian for resurrecting the postseason conference for law enforcement. It was rewarding to take part in it and see the camaraderie with law enforcement, hear their seasonal stories and their excitement for the future and the upcoming events and trainings. I'd like to thank the staff who were able to be there also, Randy and Alicia. And thank you to Larry for supporting this important event. I felt like it was really beneficial to everyone. I'd like to say a special congratulations to Sergeant Steve Dangler from Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, who was one of the officers of the year, along with Deputy Adam Peterson from Clackamas County. And congratulations to all the others that were honored at the law enforcement banquet. So it's so important to our mission to have these law enforcement partners, and I can't say enough how hard they work and how much we appreciate everything that they do for the Oregon State Marine Board in helping us to complete our mission. So thanks again to Brian and Eddie for putting this event together. I really appreciated being a part of it.
Thank you, Vice Chair Early. Member Withy.
You know, as a board, one of our primary responsibilities is the management of the financial resources that were allocated by the state. It's our responsibility to make sure they're used effectively, the funds are spent on their intended purpose, and all allocations are accounted for. Since I've been on the board, which seems like a long time, just as half as long as Val, but a long time, no doubt, we've always received exceptional financial analytics, and it's something I really appreciate. It's really nice to know that we're able to fulfill that requirement through the staff that we have here. I know it's not an area that gets a lot of glory. It's a lot of work that's done in the background, and I can't say how much I appreciate it. We get those every meeting we have. It's contained in the director's report, and it's really a thorough analysis and really keeps us on track to make sure that we're staying compliant with the responsibility we have. So, Christy, I really appreciate the staff doing that. I would like to give you a coin and have you pass along the comments to your staff who's involved in providing those, and that make sure that they get a coin too. I can't say how much impressed I've been through the years with that information that you provide us, and I appreciate you keeping me out of harm's way by not getting into a deficit situation. So thank you, Christy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Member Withy. And I'm going to finish with taking a moment to thank staff for the resilience regarding the weather challenges at the boat show. The display that the Marine Board had was really great. I was there on Thursday when there wasn't a lot of public traffic at the boat show. We have our Build Our Access Today board here on display. I did play the game with Janine. It was really enlightening, and I hope that members of the public also just got to see how difficult it really is to get a project through and how long it really does take to make that happen. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Eddie for inviting me to the PWC training. It was really fun this year to actually be on the water with the guys in PWCs, but I was in a kayak, so they got to practice, again, doing approaches and doing inspections of a non-motorized boater in really strong current and really strong wind conditions. So thank you, Eddie, for that. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes for the October 24th and 25th work session and meeting. Is there any discussion, questions, comments? Jennifer, thank you for doing, as always, a great job of providing the minutes.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes from both of the October 24th work session and the October 25th meeting in Pendleton.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the October 24th and 25th meetings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. The next item on our agenda is the request for public comment. It's my understanding we do not have anybody signed up either remotely or in person to testify. We did receive a letter from Mr. Mack. The letter dealt with some comments on the waterway access permit program, particularly the 7-day option, and it also raised some concerns about Newburgh Pool and law enforcement there. I'm going to ask that our voting safety and policy managers take a look at Mr. Mack's letter and, as appropriate, assign staff to contact him on those issues. Our next item is the Director's Agency Report. Director Warren, the floor is yours.
All right, Chair Jackson, give me just 1 second. I'm making a note on a follow-up. All right, Chair Jackson, members of the committee, Larry Warren, Director of your Oregon State Marine Board, and a few things today actually that I want to add on. And the first is to introduce Alan Hansen, who's joining us as the Policy and Environmental Manager. So Alan's on, I think, day like 23. So he's jumping in and learning. He came to us from the Department of Agriculture, where he was running the hemp program. He's got a long career and background as being an attorney in the banking industry, and we're just really excited to have him on board. And I think he's excited to be talking about boats and not hemp anymore. So it's got to be more fun. And so anyways, you'll see him out and about quite a bit this year as he integrates into the agency. He's got a lot of learning to do, but at the same time, if you have questions that you normally would have sent to Josh, feel free to start with Alan, and then Alan can use resources inside the building to help him get back to you. But he's available and working. So say hi when you see him out and about. I just real quick, member with you, I just want to echo your comments. Particularly, I've spent half my career running administrative parts of organizations inside state government, and Christy and her team have achieved something that I don't think I ever was, which was financial reports that you can rely on consistently. And you just can't even imagine how important that is to an organization. And I've just never had anything come out of that accounting team that I've ever doubted or found to be a problem. And it really lets our managers make decisions and run the agency with confidence that's not normally there. So they're a great team and they do good work. Remind the board, just Brian Paulson was accepted into Leadership Oregon. It's a year-long program where they go 2 days a month. They really emphasize commitment to being there. So he and I have, when he applied, committed to making sure he could be there. Unfortunately, just the way the world works, I think he will miss 3 board meetings this year. I know 2 for sure. This is 1. So I'm just making sure the board knows that it's not that we've lost interest with Brian and the board. He just will be fulfilling his obligations to Leadership Oregon this year. And it'll give a good opportunity for him to do some delegation and let staff step up and do some presenting, things like that. So good program for him. We've got, just wanted to remind folks or the board that one of the changes I made after last year during my performance review was it just felt like the board sets goals and then we don't talk about them for a year. So I've just added a section in that I'm going to keep up in the director's report to show the board what we're doing in terms of progressing towards goals the board set. In part, just so you know that we're hearing the goals and we're working towards them. And in part, if you saw something that you thought didn't align with what you were hoping happened, we could talk about it sooner than later. So that'll be included at last board meeting, including this one, and that'll be a standing item in my board report. On the good news front, the governor did move forward Steve Lambert from Jackson County. He is a public works director down there. He has been engaged with the agency for a long time, a lot of interest in doing good work. He's been a part of parks departments for most of his career. And they put him forward as a board nomination to replace the empty seat created with Colleen not doing a second term. So that appointment will happen. I believe it's slated for February 6th, but it hasn't been scheduled yet. So I assume they'll hold that date. There is going to be nothing short of hundreds of appointments that day. And so it'll be a long day. So we'll get Steve prepped for that, and he's ready and excited. So he should be joining us at our April board meeting. And again, the good news is he's really been paying attention to our agency for a long time, has a good working relationship, and brings a real good, deep understanding of the facility side. It's kind of the provider of access. So look forward to having you all meet him that have not met him in the past. And then just two more. One, public meeting laws. Just wanted to talk about a procedure. I mentioned in the board report that came out with some new laws that require some different things on the public meeting, and the Oregon Government Ethics Commission now has some oversight on public meetings. One of the new laws has a requirement that we record the meetings and post those recordings out. I think it's got some, as soon as possible type language in that. There has been some instances you've probably heard about in both your personal and government life where sometimes people with bad intentions get on public meetings and, start saying crazy things. We've got a really good system in place. In fact, tomorrow, Jennifer will be presenting to all the small boards and commission directors how we do our public meetings, because we use some different technologies that are being used by most of them that help prevent some of those things from happening. But no system is perfect. So as a point of procedure, if our meeting was ever to be taken over by somebody with bad intentions, we would be asking the chair to just immediately put the meeting into a recess for 30 minutes and tell people that they could come back in 30 minutes and use the same link that we've provided for the public meeting. One of the benefits of our tool is the meeting that we put out for the public to watch these meetings. One, they can't talk, interact, or take over the meeting. They can just watch, but they can't interact with each other. They can't interact with us. So that's one of the safeguards. But one of the other pieces that's really nice about that, as Jennifer uncovered, is we could come up with a new set of meeting links for the board to use and then point that back to that same link for the public. So if we had somebody get onto the inside meeting links and do something where we needed to recess, we could develop a new set of links for those of us participating in the meeting and then point the public link to that new meeting link. So it's a really good system, but the main takeaway is that we've done everything we can do to protect us from that. And should it ever happen, just put us in recess for 30 minutes and tell people they can return back to that link to watch the meeting. The challenge, and I think there'll be some future changes to that law, hopefully. Right now, the way it's written, if something really bad was to be said on our meeting, so it's usually hate speech that comes on, we would have to post the meeting recording with that hate speech on it. And that's already had one agency who's had to navigate that issue. And it's just kind of an ugly and unintended consequence of that that new law. So I imagine in the future there'll be something about the ability to do some editing there. But for now, we stand that anything here has to be published. So that's where recess, come back in 30 minutes, we'll shut things down and move on. So, and then finally, the Chair Jackson mentioned the boat show. Just observations from my time there. Inventory seems to mostly be back from, we had the COVID lows where the boat show was pretty empty. Although with that said, notably, a lot of our local manufacturers are not coming anymore to the shows. These tend to be your aluminum boat builders. And the number one thing we're hearing is they're not coming because their build lists are already 2 years out. And so first they would have to build a boat just to bring to the show. Then telling somebody at a boat show it's going to be 2.5 years before they get a boat isn't the best sales technique. So while a lot of our builders are missing that we would consider iconic Northwest brands, I think, it's because they're too busy. And now with that said, I noticed some of the market segments definitely add more of last year's models than we've seen in recent, so they're holding on to some inventory from last year. So sales might be softening a little bit for them. So, that it was a good show. I didn't see a lot of people coming, it appeared to me, with an intention to buy. Talking to the dealers, that at least the first couple days they weren't selling a lot. I imagine the snow didn't help with that. So hopefully the future shows better weather, things pick up for them. And then just because we did bring it, and maybe Janine, if you wanted to just, even if we could show the board just so Val maybe could see it. I don't know if we could get that in the camera. And
There is a picture.
oh, there's a picture in the book of the board. If you wanted to maybe just real quick step up, just talk through that board, put you on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, how does it show down here for record, Jennifer?
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
So for the record, I'm Janine Balek, the Boating Facilities Program Manager. This is our game board we are featuring at the boat show. The choose your own adventure style of game, where we ask participants to choose whether they'd like to build a brand new site or make a major renovation, whether they'd just like to expand a boat ramp or replace docks with no ground disturbance. They can choose from a drift boat, a raft, a kayak, a personal watercraft, and a motorboat as their playing piece. And they roll dices, and so they roll dice. As they go through, we explain what has happened to get them to that point. So if you're doing a brand new facility and you've rolled a 3, we let you know that at this point, we have met with the facility owner. We have assessed whether the site is feasible for development. We've done research on historic documents, plans, available studies, and we've spent about 9 months getting to that point. So it goes through, lets them know by the end of a brand new site, we've invested about 9 to 10 years. And the folks that played, there was a lot of surprise, a lot of new appreciation for all the different parties that go through. And one of the common things we heard was, thank you for helping them get through that. So I think I'm looking forward to the Eugene show on, I guess it's February 2nd, 3rd, because it'll give us hopefully better weather. We'll have more interaction, but to hear folks realize that this isn't a simple process to go through. And that we provide a lot of technical assistance to help the landowners. I had one person say, well, if you guys didn't do this, we know the government on the local end wouldn't do it because they can't keep staff long enough to keep that momentum going. So it was nice to start hearing some of those positive feedback that this is a benefit to them.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Janine. And that's just a good sign. It was a really creative way. We rotate emphasis at the shows, and this year was facilities turn. And I just thought this was such a nice creative way Janine and her team came up with to talk about the challenges with access in a less kind of just, hey, it's hard type way. And because we frequently hear the whole, I could just bring my skid loader down and throw some gravel down and have a boat ramp. What's wrong with you Marine Board people? Why does it take so long? So thanks, Janine. Appreciate that. And then just one final note, I guess, sorry, I had one more and then I'll take questions. Last year we changed the process for Lifesaver Awards. We had been doing it at the end of the postseason, and we changed it to where now we're going out in the field when there are ones that happen close to board members, we're inviting you. Got a chance to have some of you attend some of those. Since July, we've had 22 Lifesaver Awards, and there's just been some really nice ones. Those are predominantly there are law enforcement partners, but I've got to give one to a 12-year-old girl who helped rescue her friend up at Detroit. Got to go down to one in Grants Pass where 2 people, pulled someone out of a drift boat that was pinned upside down, some private citizens. So it's working the way we intended it to. People are bringing their families, local media is coming. It's just a really good change to the program. So we'll keep that up and keep inviting you all when there's ones that we think are in your area that you'd be interested in. So that, I'll take any questions.
Great, thank you. Anybody have questions for Director Warren or comments?
I got it here. The director's report indicates that we've obligated all the waterway access grant money, and we're looking for more. Is there anything that board can do to influence that?
So Member Withy, we are in a kind of a good, bad situation. The good news is the program's popular and we've subscribed all the dollars. The bad news is it's popular and we've subscribed all the dollars. We do actually have cash reserves, and we will be exploring options in the future to perhaps go through some of the government processes to get permission to spend some of that cash reserve. So in April, I would expect that staff will be ready to have that conversation with the board about supporting that effort.
I think the program's been so successful. I would endorse anything we can do to expand it. So I encourage you to pursue that.
Thank you.
I watched those videos, Adventures Without Limits, and in the Bona Vista. And I'm wondering what we're going to do with those. I think they're great. I think they provide a lot of information. I don't know if we're going to somehow introduce those to the public. Maybe showing a Buena Vista one at a boat show and encourage maybe some harbor masters or whoever to look to their facilities and try to improve them. I'm just curious how we'd use them.
Sure, and I would encourage just anybody, if you use social media and you want to have your day be better in the morning, follow Adventures Without Limit. They're a great organization, and their Instagram page is my favorite to follow. They just do such great things with the community out there. So
Yeah. Remember the videos we're going to put on our YouTube channel, and we're going to reference them. Ashley's going to do some social media posts to get things out there. The Adventures Without Limit videos were really great. We're working to come up with a script and some phone apps that parks maintenance staff can download and make mini videos of their sites to show people, here's where the parking is, here's where the restroom is, here's the route to the boat ramp, to help people with disabilities make decisions on their own on whether or not they can use a facility, whether or not they would need assistance to use the facility, and just try to broaden and empower folks more with that. But we're going to try to come up with some things that would allow maintenance staff or park staff to make videos. We have capacity to host it on our YouTube. If they don't have capacity in their systems to host the videos, we can add links onto our access map as well to help get the word out on what is out there and let people get outside and go boating.
Now, a couple of them show shortcomings of their facilities, like Mill City and Willamette. I would hope that we could work with the facility owners to see if they can pursue improvements, even though they have to go through this serpentine process. But it'd be nice to use those to point out some deficiencies that they have.
That is on the agenda, yes.
And while you're at the table,
Okay.
you know, with all these weather events we're having, I anticipate a need for emergency funding for a lot of facilities around the state. So we still have that authority in place for the director to approve those requirements. Is that correct?
Yes, so our small grant program, when the board approved increasing that threshold to a $50,000 project, that's been a tremendous help. We've been able to be really responsive to different emergencies and helping get sites back open and repaired.
I anticipate there's going to be a need for that when the weather breaks up here in a couple of months. So I want to make sure we have the tools to respond.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I wanted to just add to your comment about the water access grant money. It's been something that Josh and Brian and I were working on quite a bit last year, and Brian and I have already had multiple discussions this year about kind of some of the target markets that don't necessarily support the water access program, and how do we get in front of them to get them to understand the importance of it, and how even their communities, they don't want to pay the permits, but yet members of their community have actually applied for and received grants. And so being able, and I think Randy is on the call, and I think Randy's been involved in some of those discussions with certain communities, particularly out in the gorge. So again, part of it is just getting the word out that that program is there, that it's state law, and it's been state law since 2020. To to get people actually, and also I think I'm going to grill Justin a little bit about this when we talk about the voting safety folks, just getting the word out on that program, because if you look at the number of permits that we actually sell versus the number of people in 10-foot human powered boats that are out there, there's a lot of people that are missing it. So again, we talked about it, I think, at the October meeting of not making any changes to the program until we really make a really concerted effort to get the word out.
Yeah, I think that program really helps us broaden the boating community. I think it does more for that than any other program we have. It reaches people that otherwise wouldn't be participating in boating activities. So
Right.
I think it's just a super program.
Great.
Vice Chair Early, did you have some comments or questions?
Needed to unmute myself. I can't find my hand on there anywhere, so I'm just going to raise my hand.
You can just put your real hand up. That's fine.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you to Alan for putting together the Buena Vista also. It was really fun to watch, and I would encourage that for a lot of our new facilities so that we can highlight those to the general public. Thank you to Christy also. Just again, I would reiterate what Member Withy and also what Director Warren said. Just it's made a big difference reading these consistent reports with a consistent format, which I really appreciate. I'm looking forward to Steve Lambert and seeing him again. I know when Brian Carroll from Lynn County Parks was on the board, he was invaluable in a lot of facility challenges or understandings, and he was a great resource for a lot of us on the board. He was already on the board when I came on, and he was a great mentor in being able to know what was going on. So about the Leadership Oregon and Brian's time in those, if there's a conflict in the meetings, is it possible for us, if we know that that's coming up, Director Warren, would it be beneficial at times for us to change our meeting times? Or I mean, I don't have any problem listening to staff do those reports as well. I just thought if there was something particular that we needed to hear from Brian, if we changed our meeting dates, that would be beneficial.
Sure. Vice Chair Early, if there's a topic that we're concerned couldn't be covered without Brian, we'll talk to the board about making some adjustments. So the good news is we know both of them when they're happening pretty, well in advance. And right now we do have a general plan for how to handle that. But if something comes up, we'll certainly talk to the board about any adjustments or, potentially having an agenda item go first or last or something if we need Brian to present before or after his training. So.
Okay, thank you. And then the final question that I had was regarding the public meeting law. It's my understanding that the Oregon Ethics Committee is requiring training, and was wondering if that was going to be something that we will need to also attend. They did have a webinar available, but they have since taken down that webinar. And so I'm not sure where that stands at this point.
Vice Chair Early, I'm in the same boat as you, so to speak there. And tomorrow, the Government Ethics Commission is going to be presenting at the same meeting that Jennifer's presenting at on how we handle our meetings. And all of us statewide are hoping that we learn more about what their training plans are and who would be required and how we'll go about that. So we should know more in the next few weeks. They're playing catch up on a new law themselves and staffing up. And I think they're just getting ready now to be able to publicly talk about what the plan is for the training. So we'll be letting you all know if there's a training requirement.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Chair Jackson.
Thank you, everybody. All right, our next item is the DSA program update with Justin Howard. And I'd like to welcome member Jorge Guzman, who recently joined the meeting. So good morning, Jorge. All right, Justin, the floor is yours.
Waiting for the mouse.
Okay.
Chair Jackson, members of the board, good morning. My name is Justin Lauer. I am the Voting Safety Advocate Program Coordinator for the Oregon State Marine Board Agency. Excellent. Thank you. All right, today I'm here to give you an overview of the 2023 Voting Safety Advocate Program, as well as a little bit of an outlook for 2024. From our program kickoff, we had 4 advocates hired for the 2023 season, and that began in August. They were on staff from August until December 15th. Next year, it's going to be different, though. The timing was different because of the biennium. Next year, the advocates are going to be on staff from April until September, and this is going to help it better align with the voting season so that we're able to reach more people. It's anticipated they'll be able to make a lot more contacts given that, and we'll have more time for training in advance. So nothing but up for the next year. Training. Off the bat, the new advocates were given a comprehensive orientation and training. Covered all of the basic onboarding things, how to use their technology, got them all set up at the agency. In addition to that, they were given more training in public interaction, voting safety, rules, and general safety in terms of public interaction, their own safety as well. There was a special training day held at Hag Lake where they were actually able to go out and practice public interaction and do so in a way where they were supported by both agency staff as well as each other before going out on their own, which was good. Luke Martinez was there and a number of agency staff who were able to help give them a play-by-play, help them work on things, and help them get comfortable with public interaction on their own. Also, they learned how to set up the event display package, which you can see here. There's a really nice little setup Mariana McKenzie, our education coordinator, came up with. It includes a canopy, table, a lot of branded things with information, and we use that at events to create a stationary interaction platform. Activities of this year. The BSAs attended a wide range of events of all different sizes. The events ranged in attendance from 500 to over 15,000. The smaller ones were safety fairs, things like that, all kinds of different events up to the 12s and Pumpkin Regatta, which was a 15,000 plus person event. You can see up here on the right, that's part of our table display to be festive for that. At these events, we were able to have a lot of interactions with people, both voters and non-voters who came by, give them information about requirements, other safety things, places they could go to find additional information. We were able to distribute agency materials, and there were quite a few giveaways we had. Stickers that remind them of life jackets, things like that, connect them with the Marine Board and voting safety, as well as things like whistles and life jackets, which were given and properly fitted when we had them available for the event. This allowed us to reach a broad demographic of people. There were all kinds of different events. These had different people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, all sorts of things that really helped to expand our reach and get the message out there into the community for people we might not otherwise be able to reach. Field interactions. Besides events, the BSAs did a lot of field interaction. They would go out to voting sites. There we go, access points, events, and businesses. And they had an opportunity to talk to both motorized and non-motorized voters out there in what looked like about even numbers. So they were interacting with both fairly well. Their interactions received a pretty much universal positive public response. I didn't hear of any bad things that happened. Everybody was excited that they were out there preaching voting safety, teaching people what they needed to know. And this also provided the opportunity for two-way interaction. Instead of just telling them things, giving information to them, we can also ask them questions and learn from them. So we can see how things are working, get additional insight into how people think, and how we can help them to better understand how to vote safely. Outreach material production was something we did. We also got into that more as the voting season slowed. Interactions that informed the need for new materials, and advocates focused on overlooked topics. Things that seemed simple, but that often are overlooked by people anyway, kind of fall through the cracks. From that we produced 4 new PSA videos to try to see that as an experiment. And through this, we increased our ability to produce videos. and identified the need for dedicated equipment if we would like to do these things in-house. The next section will be viewing 3 of these videos. So, get ready. This is the first one starring voting safety advocate Jeff Holter. Cannot blame media. Okay. Hang on a second, I can exit out of this.
You just need to press the play. So
I did press play, it said couldn't apply.
you just gotta give it a second. So go up to your video and then press that and then give it a second. That's work.
That's what I thought. If I can open up the folder, I can just play them directly from there.
This was only tested probably 6 times yesterday and
Yeah.
worked beautifully. So
On 3 computers.
on 3 computers and multiple scenarios, so it would.
Made a special folder.
Yeah.
That's all right. There we go.
Let me get to, where is it? There it is.
I promise you, they are excellent videos. You're gonna love this so much.
It's going to be very.
This is really planned into the presentation.
Yeah, right.
Build.
Build that
Yeah.
anticipation.
Exactly. Jeff Holter, I don't know.
There.
Right.
I'll just have to share from here.
Sounds good. PSA anchoring to go first. There you go.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Right.
Whole world.
Hmm.
They didn't test it on my laptop. That's the problem.
There we go. Oh, here we go.
Are you planning to anchor your boat in the beautiful waters of Oregon? In order to do that safely, you want to choose a suitable location away from submerged rocks and underwater hazards. Ensure your anchor is in good condition and the right size for your boat's weight. Let it out slowly and make sure you have a good hold. Keep a close eye on your surroundings and always adjust your anchor as needed. Safe anchoring is essential for a worry-free journey, and remember to always wear your life jacket.
That is our first one. I think I can just close this, right?
So it's not sharing the video on. Which in the pet?
Pets, let's do pets. It doesn't. Just whichever one. This is the next one on Pet Life Jacket starring Pim McKay.
Summer fun can be a blast on the water, but don't forget about our 4-legged friends. Your pets love adventure too, but keeping them safe is just as important as keeping yourself safe. Think about this. If your pet goes overboard, seconds count. You want to be able to safely rescue your pet and not put yourself in danger. Here's a fun fact for you. Over half of Oregonians are dog owners, and life jackets are available for all dogs of all shapes and sizes. Right.
And then have one more, please.
One more, and then we'll go into the interviews. So pretty much we can just keep going through these, and there'll be a few more slides.
I'm here to talk to you about sound producing devices. Did you know that sound producing devices are required on any boat that doesn't have a built-in horn? Now, the reason for this is because sound producing devices create noise that catches people's attention, and the noise that they produce can carry much further than your voice. Sound producing devices can include a whistle, which is the most common, an air horn, or an electronic device, or a combination of these. It's also a good idea to keep your sound producing devices easily accessible. And a whistle can easily be attached to your life jacket. Test your devices from time to time to make sure they're working properly. Now stay safe, and we'll see you on the water.
All right. So there's 2 slides after this. We can just go to the videos instead. That'll be easier.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll just explain what's going on. The next ones have 2 voting safety advocates we are highlighting. One is Kim McKay and the other Jeff Holter. In front of them, we'll give their name, and then it will say something about them. One is that Jeff was a firefighter and worked on fireboats. And the other one is Kim was a jet ski racer and continues to be. The rest of the information will be in their interview.
Hello,
Okay.
I'm Kim McKay, and I grew up in St. Paul, Oregon. I currently reside in Kaiser with my 2 children. And I originally started with a water safety program that I did for the last 10 years. However, my boating experience is about 24 years experience. It stems from racing jet skis. I was ranked 4th in the world in 2017, and I also took a water safety PWC ocean water rescue program that was partnered with the Coast Guard, and I did that this last year. So I have lived my whole life on the water. I'm very grateful to be a BSA for the Oregon State Marine Board because I believe in this program so much. I was very excited about the job posting basically because with my volunteer water program, I had received letters from 2 different moms about lives that I've saved, and I really could see the potential to engage with the community and look forward to hopefully being a part of that for the future. My favorite part about the job this summer was really getting out near the water or in particular on the water. I really love doing the ride along with Sheriff Corey. I really feel like you have the potential to reach a lot more people. Being on the water, being around people, and also just having such a positive impact with people. We're not coming in and laying down the law. We're just the friendly people that are able to come in and make suggestions to people and educate people. And when we can give someone a whistle or give someone a dry bag or some kind of product, they now look at us as a hero. And I can't tell you how many people who are so excited about this program. So I really just, again, reiterate the positive attributes this program has and the potential for how far it could go.
That was Kim McKay. She was an excellent boating safety advocate for us this year and did a lot of great work. She also has done much of that, like she said, in the past, and has worked with the Marine Board before. So we were lucky to have her. Jeff Holter.
Hi, I'm Jeff Holder. I work for the Oregon State Marine Board as a boating safety advocate. I'm originally from Corvallis, and now I live in Silverton with my wife and my son. I recently retired from the fire service after 35 years and was a firefighter up in Portland. We had a water rescue program. I was on the team, and it was a great program. We were really busy, worked side by side with other agencies in Multnomah County. And a portion of my career in the fire service was with the U.S. Air Force. I'm very familiar with the incidents and situations boaters can get themselves into. Some of those end up being serious injuries or even death. And so I'd like to be on the other side of the equation and maybe help people prevent some of those accidents from happening. I like getting out there talking to boaters and paddlers, find out what they like about their sport and what kind of equipment they're using. I never really got a chance to talk to the community on a casual level. It was more formal when I was working. And I also love the team I work with here at the Marine Board. They're really supportive. And it's nice to get out there and see that we're making an impact on the overall safety of boaters. And so statistics are really important, and the apps we use really make it easy to gather that data. So I'd like to see that evolve and even encompass more in the future. And I also like to get the word out and make sure we're getting the word out to kids because developing lifelong skills is important for them.
All right. Now we can go back to the slideshow.
Okay.
So Jeff was also a great advocate for us this year. You heard about his experience, and it's just been a pleasure to work with him too. We're almost there. Right. Let's go on again from where it was. There we go. And we did that.
Okay.
Now it's working.
Glad we learned that. Meet the advocates. Yeah, that was the slide you would have seen. There you go. With this, as you heard Kim mention, we identified with the BSAs a need for on-water interaction. It can be difficult to reach a lot of boaters from access points. Sometimes the boat ramp is not the best place to talk to people. They are often busy and don't want to speak with you. And they're not always all there. Sometimes the advocates were looking out on boaters all over the water and they couldn't reach them. So being able to get them access to those people is something we looked at doing for next year. More opportunity for interaction. Boaters are more willing to talk on the water is something I found when I was out doing interaction. In that place, when they see you come up in a boat talking to them, it's more of a peer interaction. It's very comfortable for them and it can lead to some very good and productive conversations. Also, being on the water provides an opportunity for direct interventions from time to time. If we have our kayaks that they'll have with life jackets on board, a couple extras, things like that, whistles, if they come across somebody who's out on the water and does not have the proper equipment, they can provide it to them rather than just telling them about it. And I was able to do that several times before too, and I think that's a very useful thing. Having 5 people do that will be good for the community. And all of this provides an improved perception of agency presence, both in friendliness in terms of that and in terms of just frequency of seeing us out on the waterways. The on-water expansion plan we have that I'm working on includes the purchase of inflatable kayak packages. We're going to be purchasing 6 inflatable kayaks. I am working on getting certified as an ACA instructor for sit-on-top river kayaking, as well as paddle sports safety facilitator, so I can become an instructor in that and certify our BSAs before they are required to use those or allowed to go out and use those kayaks. Advocates will be certified in the use of the particular kayaks they're using. Also, using an inflatable kayak is one of the most safe crafts we could put them in. They don't sink. They're easy to remount if you fall out. They're a very good craft for them to have. I'm working on getting them a non-certification SRT training if we can. Maybe partnering with the OWA or something along those lines. Not to get them certified in swiftwater rescue, but just to make sure all of them have the skills they need and are familiar with river environments, anything they may encounter out there in the field. Extensive on-water training. I plan to take many field trips as well as a few skills practices when I give them as part of both the ACA course and just additional training going out to see the waterways they'll be on. There'll be a few where we do as a group, and depending on how far out spaced out the BSAs are, if there's one in Bend coming up, we'll go out and maybe help them explore the waterways to make sure they understand how to do that safely. We're also going to implement a safety check-in system so that if BSA is often working alone or going out on a waterway, they'll be able to check in with somebody to make sure that they come back safely. For 2024, the program outlook is to expand training and advocate skill set. Those boats are part of that. Also, I'd like to train them in data collection and more interaction. Both that and the training, the boats and the timing of the program, will be better for the next year. And I think that's greatly going to increase the number of people we're going to be able to reach. Hopefully we can continue to create new and better outreach materials that are directed towards specific problems we've found through information gathered in the field. Focus on improvement by, let's say, informed by interaction. That's what I meant. So the improvements we make, focus on will be informed by the interactions we have with boaters, so that we're actually seeing how they're interacting with the interventions we've done before, things we may be missing, ways we can get them to understand how to be safe and adopt those practices better. Questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Yes.
How do we measure the success of the program? Is it number of interactions, or is there measurements we're making to determine how well the program is working?
It's early in the process right now. Interactions is what we have so far. I'm looking for more qualitative data in the future, being able to get feedback from people in the field. I think that'll help as well. And I anticipate this program will continue to evolve and improve. And as we identify new things, we will add those in as appropriate.
So the data we would give back to the data you give us on the board would be primarily interactions.
As far as I know, if we can add in additional things in the future, I would like that. Any more?
I would like things that we can look at and determine how we can improve the program, how we can make it more successful. So, and what we can do about boating safety in general from what you observe in the program.
Absolutely. Well, we can give you a report on those things and our observations as well to tell you what we've been learning. Would that be a good metric for you to kind of see what we've learned and how that's contributed?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can do that. We can add that to the report as well.
I'd like to build on, remember with these questions. So at our meeting in October, Brian did a great presentation about the technology that the law enforcement folks are using to collect data on their interactions with folks.
Yes.
Is there a bridge between the system that your folks are using and that the law enforcement folks are using? Because I think maybe not this year or next year, but going forward, as we become more robust with the BSA program, there should be a way to see interactions and potential corrective actions from the BSA program overlaid with law enforcement as to how many citations, warnings, in a specific, I'm thinking like some of the hotbed geographic areas that we see problems, like, you know, parts of Multnomah County, over in Bend, maybe out in the gorge. You know, are we reducing the number of citations because people are learning from the BSAs? And I think if we can overlay those two data sets, we might be able to get that information.
I think that sounds like an excellent idea, Chair Jackson. And I'm not familiar enough with that system yet. That would lie with the voting safety manager currently.
I was gonna say, so there's something for Brian to
yes,
kind of take a look at.
Absolutely.
Vice Chair Early, I saw you raise your hand. Mute.
Okay, it was along those same lines that you were talking about, Chair Jackson, because it's my understanding that there is also an interface for the BSAs separate from what the EBER system is. And I know that Brian had been working on improving that. So am I still muted?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Okay,
Yeah.
And so the other thing that I was wondering about is about the integration of the BSAs with some of the law enforcement training opportunities, such as the Swiftwater, and also just the some PWC, that sort of thing, because it sounds like maybe those would be able to be integrated together at some point.
I'll say that actually has been, some of the BSAs have expressed interest in doing those trainings. I think in the future that will be something that would be good for them, but it will be something I will have to run by the manager.
And then the final thing that I wanted to ask about was the signage that we have. In a lot of the signage that the Oregon State Marine Board has been producing, we have been doing so with multiple languages. And are these also in multiple languages, and are any of the BSAs multilingual?
I do not know of any of the BSAs who are multilingual. Signage we have been producing are in two languages, both English and Spanish. And we're going to try to make that standard from here on out with anything we produce.
Thank you.
Director Warren, you have a comment?
Yeah, I want to make sure related correct. So Chair Jackson, on your question, as an example, would the BSAs have done a lot of outreach in an area? Can we correlate whether that reduced law enforcement citations or interactions? Is that an example of the correlation?
That's kind of what I'm looking for, or also even, you know, safety incidents.
Okay.
If we can track areas where we have a lot of safety incidents or citations that are correcting or directing people to go in from safety incidents versus where BSAs are interacting with folks, maybe we're getting a reduction.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also looking for some data points that would interact well with those two to try to build up our survey forms more for next year.
Yeah. Quick question, Member Guzman, if you're there, do you have any questions or comments? Hearing none.
If he's on his phone, he needs to do *6.
Member Guzman, are you there? Do you want to make a comment or question? Okay.
Are you?
We hear
Hi,
you.
this is Jorge. Good morning. Great, excellent. I don't have any questions, but thank you. I was having a hard time unmuting myself, but yeah, no questions at all. Thank you.
Great. Vice Chair Early, did you have another question?
It was my understanding during the presentation that Brian made that those data points are available on the BSA platform as well as from the LE platform. So it would be nice to be able to see some data, as Member Withy had pointed out, and also in the future the interaction between the LE platform and also the BSA platform for just demographics and all kinds of different data points. So as Chair Jackson pointed out.
Yes, there is a BSA platform like that, much like the law enforcement one. That yes, correct.
So it strikes me, Chair Jackson, that a good path forward might be for us to have this conversation with Brian and Justin. And as we go into the 24 season, to be thoughtful about how we're continuing to collect data so that when we come back in October and start to talk about how the season went, we can start to do some of this correlation and mesh up and working into the data. Does that seem like a reasonable timeline approach?
Fantastic, yes.
Okay.
Because I think then that would also give Justin and Brian both information to plan the 2025 season.
Right.
And what they want to look at. Great.
I got something else.
Member Withy?
You got some advocates that are very skilled, obviously, and they've been involved in rescue operations in the past. Do you see safety advocates getting engaged in rescues on the water?
I do not at this point, simply because it's probably a liability issue for us.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we have adequate training or can guarantee that that is something they will be prepared for or want to put them in that position.
Well, I'm sure there's some liability.
Yeah.
Help and rescue. If you don't help, there's
Yeah.
liability both ways.
What would the approach I'm taking to it is I'm making sure they're skilled and able to protect themselves and able to maneuver safely in the water environment. You know, if there is something that comes up, that may be a personal decision for them in the future, but yeah, that's not something we expect of them.
How do you approach a boat on the water threatening without them feeling threatened by your approach?
I usually open with the words "ahoy there," and that usually works.
That's got to be a challenge in some occasions.
Yeah, you know, normally I go up to them. I'm boating. They don't know who I am, and I'll introduce myself. Say, "Hey, I'm Justin from the Oregon State Marine Board. I'm doing this. Is it okay if I talk with you?" I'll ask them. They either say yes or no, and I thank them. And then if they say yes, we continue from there. And I try to have a conversational style interview with them. Sometimes there are things I didn't even think of that come up with them, and sometimes they need information from me. Like, it just depends. Power boats are a little bit harder. Usually it works better with non-motorized craft. To interact with motorized boats, they are a little bit higher up, which makes it tougher. But
That's the challenge sometimes.
yeah,
And remember, with a part of the objective with the Boating Safety Advocate Program is to get people planted in communities across the state. And some of the hope with that then is that they fit in with the folks that they're talking to better than they might otherwise. So while I might not know how to approach Chair Jackson out on her kayak on the Willamette River, I would certainly know how to go talk to a saltwater fisherman. You know, you compliment his boat and ask, and don't ask about how the fishing's been, right? And then you can have a conversation.
So also I'm developing some training materials for the upcoming BSA section that will actually include some of that interaction and how to do that.
Great.
So quick question. So the folks are seasonal employees.
Correct.
The folks who did it last year, do they get priority for this year, or how is that?
As I understand it, I've not been involved with that process, but they all have to reapply and will need to compete for their jobs again. April 1st is when we, like I said, when we intend to have them on.
Okay,
So Chair Jackson, the recruitment should start soon. And which will be good. Last year, because of just waiting for approval
Right.
and legislative, all the people that work seasonal type works were probably already working for camps and parks and different programs. And so we were sort of late to the game. And so the nice thing is this time, the folks that did it last year certainly will be aware of how to apply and get back into that program. And then we'll just have a longer, better runway for people that plan seasonal work.
great.
So.
Vice Chair Early, did you have something you wanted to say? I mean, because one of the things that I see, again, this program's kind of still in its infancy, but having dealt with Luke for a couple of years and his partnership both with us and also with, as a county employee, that basically makes him kind of a full-time year-round person.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find more opportunities within some of the public agencies or within other employment situations to have people kind of doing that big picture water safety stuff as well as just like the seasonal. I see this as a great model for something to kind of keep building towards for the future.
Mm-hmm. And it goes on. I think we will learn from this program as we go forward too, and we'll get a very good idea of things to do in the future like that. Constantly building.
All right. Any other questions for Justin? All right, let's move on to item C, key performance measures. Director Warren.
Thank you, slide.
Thank you. So, okay, key performance measures, everybody's favorite topic. As a reminder, one of the board goals was to establish new metrics to give us an understanding of what's going on in the organization. And I shared with the board that we in management were already looking at our key performance measures. Key performance measures are part of the budget process in state government. And when they came about back in the early 2000s, they were designed to help the legislator understand whether they were getting a good return on value for the budget that they were approving. The challenge with them was that they were rolled out in a very short time frame, and agencies were led to believe that all of their budget approvals in the future would be based on those. So many agencies ended up about where we are, which is way too many measures that don't necessarily correlate to things that management or the board could control and don't always tell us what is actually going on out there. So we've embarked on this procedure where we have to time it with the budget process. So management, with the help of Dorothy Dio before she left over to the Department of Agriculture or Department of State Lands, helped us start to look at our key performance measures and develop new measures. And so procedurally today, I'm just going to share where our current thinking is, get any input that the board has. If we're way far off, we may need to come back in April and have another discussion. If we're sort of close and you give us some input, we would be looking in the July meeting to bring you a final product to approve as part of the agency request budget. The other piece that I would share is just step one would be getting some good key performance measures that are really high level indicators. The step after that is to build kind of the operational metrics that tie to those so that if you see something going awry in a key performance measure, a program manager can look at that next level deeper and report to the board about what the next level deeper metric is. So these are intended to be very high level indications of the health of the organization. So rather than read through all of the ones that we have now, I'm going to just focus on the proposed measures that management has. And one, we've got two mandatories, so we really can't do anything with those. One is around customer service, and it's just around the satisfaction of, they've said we're good or excellent. And that's a mandatory measure, so it's really not much value in spending time discussing whether we keep it or not, because we're going to have to keep it. The other mandatory measure, every year you all fill out a survey that essentially evaluates how the board's functioning. You're sort of self-rating how things go. That is a mandatory measure. If you have a board or commission, you have to have that measure. So those two are sort of in the untouchable category. And then the three that we're proposing to move forward with and finish up in time to put into our agency request budget, the first one is the percentage of boaters contacts that result in determinations that the boater is fully compliant. Now you'll notice we don't have any proposed measures around fatalities and buoys and different things like that. What we really did is we spent time as a group thinking about what do we know about a boater that's going to be successful on the water and less likely to have a fatality, less likely to have a buoy, less likely to become a challenge. And really what it comes down to is somebody that's got all the safety equipment, the mandatory education. Those are the folks that we know are less likely to become fatalities, less likely to have buoys. So this measure is that high level measure. Now, if we saw this measure slipping, that's where some operational measures below that might be around buoys or fatalities, or it also might be a good indication if we're seeing people aren't compliant because they don't know about the new fire extinguisher laws. Maybe we need to do more outreach and education on the new fire extinguisher laws. So it's that high level measure from a boating safety perspective that we would feel like gives us that indication that people are going to be successful and less likely to have issues out on the water. The next proposed measure is around percent of title applications resulting in a issuance or deficiency letter in 60 days. So when you apply for a title, the Coast Guard allows us to do a 60-day temporary permit to operate, essentially. And so our goal is to get that under 60 days, keep it at 60 days. And we've had a lot of conversations around should it be all the transactions that registration does? Because, for example, right now, we're very caught up on renewals. We've been caught up on renewals for several years now, but we would not be meeting the 60-day on the title issuance. And so the reality is based on the complexity of an issuance of titles, we believe that if we're meeting the title deadline of 60 days, that we're meeting everything else as well. Again, it's sort of that indication that if we're caught up on titles, we're also caught up on renewals and reissuance of things. And so, and if you know, the number one, I guess, complaint or concern we hear from people is around our title issuance timeframes. It impacts several things. It impacts the boat manufacturing industry. I had an opportunity to meet with the leader of the 44 Degree North Marine, and that's the New North River Willys conglomeration. And he pointed out that his industry relies on data around titling to figure out what the boat market's doing. So when we're behind on that, it makes it hard for them to do forecasting on their business side. If you get a new VHF marine radio and you want to register it now so that the AIS functions work, you have to have an MMSI number, which means you need an OR number. So somebody that's, for instance, a saltwater boater that gets a new VHF radio and they want to be able to hit the distress button and have everyone know where they're at, has to wait until we get them OR numbers to get that number. So that if we're 3 months behind, that's a challenge for them. So it just feels like a really good indicator measure. Now, the more complicated measure is a composite measure for boating access, the facility side of our house. And we really, as a group, talked a long time about what do we actually influence in boating access. It's difficult because, as we know, we're not the owners of those access sites. And what are the outcomes and measures and things that we think, again, tell us we're doing a good job and that we could control. So the proposal would be to build a composite measure where we blend in a score off the number of projects that we've provided technical assistance. That's sort of the engineer's side. It's a big workload that doesn't always get captured because it doesn't always result in a grant or a project or something big that's really recognizable, but it's a big workload. Maintenance, how many sites are we able to provide maintenance for? Number of grants we funded. I think this one's always a good one. The board's always interested, the number of matching dollars. And then we've seen an uptick in interest in having non-government organization funded grants during the reporting period. So we would take those factors and build a composite measure. And again, that would be one of those indicator type things where if we were not meeting our composite measure, we would start to dig deeper and see where we were struggling. So those are the proposed measures to replace all those measures, the current key performance measures. And again, the goal today would just be to hear if the board thinks we're off base, if we're missing something. And if we'll take that feedback, refine these, we'll have to come up with some targets and measures. And that's what we'd be bringing back next time we talk to you for an approval.
Great, thank you. Any board members have questions or comments?
So when I think of performance measures, I think about the board and what we focus on in our meetings, like derelict and abandoned boats removal. I don't see anything here on that. Budget execution, I think, is a very high level measure that we're all engaged in and responsible for. So I would think it'd be good to have a measure that's focused on that. And boating safety, you know, not necessarily fatalities, but making sure people are wearing a life vest and what have you to ensure that we have safe boats. Now, I think we kind of have that in one of these other measures, but I think it's a point of emphasis that we're all responsible for. So, and then interactions. I think that's a very good measure. And it's not just the boating safety advocate program, but it's the events we attend and just the interaction we have with the boating public. Now, how do you describe that? I'm not sure, whether it's the number of events or the boating safety interaction, but I think that's a very important part of what we do. We ought to have a measure around that now. The data may show whether we go up or down from year to year. I'm not sure. But when I think of the high level performance measures, I think it needs to be those areas that we really focus on as a board, such as those. So I'm not suggesting that we have to have those, but I think those are important. Those are things that we spend a lot of time on as a board. So I think we ought to measure how we're doing in those areas.
Great. So when I think about that, member Withy, in terms, I'll work backwards. The interactions, I think in the percentage of boaters contacts, that's we can make sure as we develop that measure that it's really clear, because it's going to be a ratio type piece there. So we get the number of interactions and then the number of compliance. So we should be able to see that data of how many interactions we're getting as part of that kind of ratio measure there. The ADV, and this is the challenge. So if you were to ask the world how many KPMs an agency our size should have, they'd probably say 3 or 4. And it's tough when we already have 2 mandatories.
Yeah.
So we're pushing on 5. I think, to your point on the ADVs, that might not rise to what we would see in a KPM in terms of a budget request to the legislator, because it's not a big portion of our budget, but it is a big portion of, it's a, relative to the proportion of budget, it's a bigger problem than it is a budget problem. So it probably highlights when we get into that next layer of measures of an operational measurement of how we're doing, where we're doing, how many boats are removing, what's out there, where we might have those discussions in the program. And these are the challenges the managers have had too. We've put a lot of time in this. And again, Dorothy Dill did a great job of helping us work through this. You know, we started with a list of, and then we had to keep whittling, and it's tough because you want to measure everything. But I think ADVs in my mind is that next layer of operational measures, because it is a big piece of what we do. It is what we get asked about. And so I think at some point it belongs in our stack of how we're measuring ourselves.
And one area I did leave out is the outreach program, and maybe that is part of one of these other ones, but we're having a lot of success with the outreach program, and I think we need to focus on that, our measures, because we spent a lot of time on it. We spent a lot of money on the outreach program. So I think it ought to be incorporated in the measures somehow.
Sure. Excellent.
Vice Chair Early, did you have any questions or comments?
Yes, well, first of all, I appreciated what Director Warren was saying about the percentage of voters contacts that result in the determination that the voter is fully compliant, because I did have questions about that. So your explanation of how that was going to measure and show the success on the water through compliant voters, I thought was very beneficial. So and I think that will encompass everything that Member Withy was talking about there as far as the compliance aspect of things and relating to all of some other just measurements that we like to see. So I would see that, you know, maybe additional information just for the board, but maybe not within a KPM. And then the only other comment that I had was because I have attended a few of the DSL ADV workshops just to watch them and see what's going on, especially since we have 2 former staff members over there now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would think that the ADV portion of things, because it's so small in our budget, even though it does take a lot of our time, would be one of their key performance measures, because they have a huge portion of their, but not a huge, I mean, they've got a huge budget, but they've got a larger percentage of their budget directed towards the ADV program versus what we have. And I would think that maybe just a reporting from them regarding that program would be beneficial to us, you know, once a year whenever they complete those statistics.
Thank you. That you reflect a lot of the same things that I was kind of thinking, that since the emphasis on ADV has shifted over to that agency, well, it's still a big thing for us. It's really key. It's one of their key functions now, not ours. I really do also, to support what Val said, I really like the percentage of voter contacts, the full compliance. But along the lines of what Member Withy said, we are putting a lot of effort into going out to some of these community events. And so maybe something in the opportunity and access score about number of people in voting related scenarios, but not necessarily the actual direct contacts that a law enforcement or a BSA might be making with somebody on the water. But like Justin mentioned, you know, there was 15,000 people that were exposed to our message at the Tualatin pumpkin race.
Yeah.
You know, several thousand people were at the milk carton derby last year. And, you know, some of these events, they may not be individual contacts, but it's still exposure to the message. And I think that maybe can fold into part of it, again, that we're doing a whole lot with really a relatively small amount of money when you start looking at some of the other agencies in the state. And so in terms of how we as an agency are performing, I think it makes sense to include a lot of that bigger public stuff. How many people stopped and talked to us at the boat show? This year not being a great example of the boat show, but
Yeah.
Val?
I just was going to follow up on kind of what you're talking about there, Chair Jackson. The only thing that I would be concerned about with those external type contacts like that would be the measurement of them. How are they measurable? I mean, how do we know how many people out of those 15,000 actually saw our event, saw our message and everything? And also when I think of key performance measures, I'm thinking of the money as a percent of our budget and how important it is to our agency's budget because of the legislative mandated key performance measures, I guess criteria is what I would say. And so, I mean, as a board want that information, but whether it belongs in our key performance measures, I'm not entirely sure.
I was thinking it's another one of the sub bullets under the 5th item there, not a standalone item, but just one of the components that goes into that score. Member Guzman, do you have any questions or comments on the issue? Star 6.
Hi, no, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, no questions or comments. I've been listening to the conversation. Thank you. I think it was pretty interesting numbers, but no questions on my end.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the issue?
So
Well, I want to agree with Director Warren that key performance measures shouldn't be more than 3 to 5 in number. I think that they need to be very high level. And as you say, the subcategories could then expound upon that a great deal. But to have more than 3 to 5 is, no one's going to focus on it and it's going to get lost. So I concur with you.
I appreciate that, Member Withy, and I heard some genuine interest from the board in outreach. So as we go through to finalize this, we'll certainly give it some thought to see if we can find a way to represent that in the proposed measures. And if not, make sure we have a strong proposal for how that would be a subcomponent of some sort of measure. So.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to item D, the legislative update. Director Warren.
All right. So we've got two paths that are going right now. First path is what we refer to as a short session, starts February 6th. So soon, and short session, it has to be done, I believe, by March 10th. It's got a 34-day deadline. So it's a tight session. As a reminder, we, the agency, don't put any ideas forward in short sessions. It's just, the governor gets a few bills, although she only chose to use one bill this time. Senators, representatives, committees all get a few bills. So it's a very condensed session. Things move very quickly. You're behind from the day that the session starts, and behind and right up to the day it ends. So I'd hoped by now that the bills would be out for the public so I could talk about any that I thought might impact the Marine Board. I looked this morning right before I came in here, and the bills had not been uploaded publicly. So at this point, I don't have any insight for you into the bills that we can expect into that session. As soon as those come out, we'll do what we've done in the past. Staff will go through, we'll find the bills that are relevant to the Marine Board. I'll provide you an overview of the bills that we think are relevant and a little insight into what I think may or may not happen with them, and then keep you up to date as they move. But again, just as a reminder, the chamber deadlines, everything just comes at us really fast in that session. So I just hope, for the sake of not wanting to read bills late into the night, that they come out soon. But we'll get there. And then, just as a reminder, we're also preparing for the 25 session. So in April and in July, we'll be talking to you about ideas that staff have around legislative concepts, where we're at with staffing, where we're at with revenues. I can probably alleviate some concerns in that right now our initial estimates are that we will not need to be talking about a fee increase for registrations during the 25-27 budget cycle. So that's always one of the more difficult discussions that we have. But staff does have a few things that we're working on. So anticipate April and July, we'll be talking to you about the 25-27 budget build and legislative concepts. So that is it. Again, I'd hope by now bills would be out so we could talk about what's out there, but they're not. So we'll just wait and see. If you hear things during session, just as a reminder, Christy, Alan, and I are kind of the trio that work really hard on the session stuff. So if you're hearing things, we don't mind if you let us know. If you hear about a bill that you think we'd rather 6 people tell Alan about a bill that they think we should be tracking than everybody missing it. So if you hear things in your own world that you think the Marine Board might be interested in, we don't mind if you tell us about that. Again, double, triple check's always fine. We try to do that ourselves. So, and with that, I guess we'll just take any questions on session.
Anybody have questions or comments for Director Warren? Hearing none. We've been at this for almost an hour and a half. So our next item is our executive session. And I'm going to close our current meeting and go to executive session, and also put in a 15-minute break so anybody can use the restroom, get coffee or whatever they need to do, and we'll reconvene at about 10 after 10. And I don't know.
Just a point of clarification, you're not adjourning this meeting, Chair Jackson. You're just
Correct.
Going into executive
We're
session
going
and then
into
we will
executive
rejoin this
session.
meeting. Is that correct?
We're going into executive session. We're going to have a 15-minute break before beginning the executive session, and we will reconvene this meeting at the end of that session. So the Oregon State Marine Board will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660, Section 2, subsection H, to discuss current litigation matters regarding Voters' Rights Association. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience will not be allowed in the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed to not report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decisions may be made in the executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session. The Teams live stream will show a screen indicating that we are in executive session, and we will remove it once we have returned to the room. So we'll see everybody back at 10 after 10.
So your office?
Yeah, we'll be in my office in 10. There's no more heat in my office. We had this corner's We're off mute.
All
Okay.
right, we are back from executive session and we are now in open session again. Per ORS 192.660, section 6, no decisions were made during the executive session. And we are now moving on to agenda item F, which is board meeting timelines. Director Warren.
Yes, Chair Jackson's a member of the board. We've put this section in to make sure we know what's coming up and to let you all have an opportunity to give us things that you'd like added. As a reminder, the April board meeting will be in Astoria. We're really excited about that one. There's a lot of great things going on in that community. We will do a tour day on the Tuesday before the board meeting for those that can make that. We will have an arranged dinner that Tuesday night and then the board meeting on Wednesday. So, you know, as you think about your travel, work with Jennifer, whether it makes more sense for you to get there Monday or Tuesday, or if you can't come until the actual board meeting Wednesday, we'll just have you look at that. But I think it's going to be a good meeting and there's just a lot of really great things. I think for tours, we're wanting to make sure everybody gets a chance to see Westport that hasn't and it's close by. There's a maritime museum there that's really nice. So I think we'll try to get folks through that and look at a few access sites along the way. So that is that. So if there's anything that you would like to add onto our list of things to bring back to you, now'd be a great time, or you can email me after the meeting anytime. So
I guess one thing I'd like to see, we have October 2020 for the EBER statistics to put BSA in there as well.
okay.
And the
Got
key performance measures, whenever you need to put those in, if it's either April or if it's the June, July meeting.
Excellent. Okay. We'll get those added in as making sure we stay on track. And I think that should be good.
Great. Go ahead.
In June, July, I think there was going to be something in there about the guide outfitter program. Is that correct?
You know, remember earlier, I'm recalling that we did have a commitment to come back with something on the guides, and I don't see it noted here. So I'm going to make a note, and we'll make sure that we'll see when that was slotted for, or what my notes are. I'll look through my notes as well when that.
And then the only other thing that I was thinking about was the legislative concepts. I know that we usually get those in there somewhere, but I just wanted to make sure that it stays on the forefront because that's going to creep up on us very, very quickly.
Sure. We'll put an initial discussion in for April and we'll get that noted into the official timeline with a July approval. So we'll get that noted in the timelines.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Member Guzman, any questions, comments about upcoming timelines or issues you'd like to see presented? Okay, hearing none. Any other issues, new business? All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
It's pouring here now, just so you know.
Well, you don't have a 6-hour drive back now, so.